are you today, Miss Jenny? Just got through building a metal bender. Fixing to get ready. Got a 1970 Monte Carlo. Around the back of the Monte Carlo, there's a lot of rust. Actually, the flange that seals the back, keeps the rain out, is absolutely gone. So what we're going to have to do, we got to bend a channel. After we get through bending the channel, we're going to have to come in and we're going to make the curves and different things. So what we're going to do, we're going to build a planishing hammer to make those curves with. I enjoy making the old school tools. I know each and every job, we shouldn't make every tool comes along to make it happen, but I do want to. I want you to realize that you can make what you need. You don't have to go and spend a bunch of money. What usually happens is people, they may have the craftsmanship about them, but they think, well, it's just so expensive to do this or that. And if I spend that money, can I actually make it happen like I want it to? You can't fail if you don't try. Thomas Edison said one day, when they told him he tried several thousand different ways to fix something, they said, well, don't you just feel like a failure? He said, no. He said, I found out thousands of ways that it won't work. He said, so I got to be getting close. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to build a planishing hammer to curve those channels when we make them.
Just to be specific, it's a reverse flange power hammer that we're building right now. Going to be a very interesting build with a demonstration.
Built, not bought. That's what we're looking for today. So we're going to make a planishing hammer to go with this metal bender, and we're going to make the curves that go around that 1970 Monte Carlo back glass and the trunk. What we're working with is an old grater blade. Wore out old grater blade. Very thick, very hard. Gonna come up with an interesting thing here. Definitely gonna be hitting right there. kind of crazy, but that's what's going to happen here. Let's give you an example of this. One thing I was always taught, never leave sharp edges. Always round your corner. Another little tip or tidbit. Once upon a time, I done a lot of frame cutting, shortening, strengthening, and when you're welding, just like me rounding those corners, and you put a plate in somewhere. You put that plate in, it's got all square edges, and you run your weld out to the end, just in a straight. Well, if it's something that flexes like a frame, that's exactly where it's going to crack. It's when that's on the end of that straight line weld. Even a weld or a patch, it needs to be rounded, and then also your weld doesn't need to come out to a straight line, because that's, like I say, that's exactly where it's going to crack. People say, well, it's cracking the weld. No, it's not necessarily the weld. It's what the heat does to the metal around it. It makes it a little brittle, because just like hardening a knife. But if you'll take that weld and you'll round it, and you take those plates and you'll round those plates, you'll see that the cracking's not going to occur like that, because it's going to run long ways. It's going to run straight. A crack's going to, stress is going to run straight. But if you can round those corners, you're doing yourself a justice. Guarantee this is it. That first pass, usually it's called a root pass or a stringer. And so, well, man, you lay that down in there. Well, that first pass is not going to really lay down in there like you want it to. What it's going to do, it's going to wash out some metal. It's going to pull it out. And as it's washing out, there's some impurities that this flux is supposed to drive to the top. So we got to push that root pass in there, and then we'll do a color pass.
Saw a post the other day. Had a stack of dimes laying in a place there, and it said, well, the old schoolers is going to know what that means. What it is if you have an old schooler to show you something, you'll know what that means. But there's a lot of things. That stack of dimes is they would tell you, go lay the dimes down, or go drop a stack of dimes for me. That's what my stepfather, which was a welding instructor, he said, go drop a stack of dimes for me. What he meant is go lay down a pretty well. Because even in the stick welding, I know MIG welding is a lot different, but in the stick welding, you stir just a little bit. Why are you stirring? You're stirring out the impurities of that metal. And as you stir, if you stir very uniformly, it's going to look like a stack of dimes laying out there, especially with the right rod. Some of the rods are cleaning rods. Some of the rods are what they call drag rods. But laying down a stack of dimes, that's something they used to say. But it would also be if, say we put hinges in old barges at Mississippi limestone, we put those hinges in those old barges, and those gaps would be just a little bit. And it'd be hard if you just a little bit less than a gap rod, but you'd have that gap. So what you would do, the first pass you would go through there would be called breaking windows. So you'd drop a rod in there. You wouldn't tie it together because you don't want to blow your metal out. But you'd drop a rod in there that would have a little bit of, it would look like windows that you went through there when we're dropping that rod in there, when you're keeping the heat low because you're making them pass across a wide crevice. But it would be called breaking windows. Once you broke those windows, the next time you could lay in there and it would hold the heat, and you could pour a good pass in. And that would be your root pass. You pour that root pass in just like this. I mean, there's no gap in there, but we pour the root pass in. And if you were starting from the bottom, which an uphill weld with the rod is going to be stronger. A downhill pass, you can't really even get that much penetration. You're going to lay down, you're going to get a decent weld, but when you're talking about really stress, like 70-18s or something like that, talking about 70,000 pounds per square inch, you want to put that upward pass in there. But in the beginning, you say, well, how do you get that to go up like that? Well, you built a bridge. We say dropping dimes, breaking windows, and building bridges. You build a little bridge down there and you let it cool, and you build a little bridge down, and then you set a platform on the bottom of that. And when you set that platform, you start stacking dimes on that platform. And you bring it up, that's your uphill weld. And you're going to get deep penetration. You're going to see that rod blow that out. And then you're going to fill it up. Just like I said, this is blowing out the impurities to a certain extent with that first pass. And then we're going to tie it all in. There's going to be a lot of impact and a lot of rattling and a lot of stress, because we're going to have, it's a planishing tool, it's a hammer, it's going to be a continuous hammering. So this particular piece is going to take not something like the shipyard would take, but it's going to take a little bit of planning in your welding. Anybody's got this far in the video, I'm sure there's some naysayers, there's some welders out there say, well, I do it this way or that way. But I want to tell you something today. There's a little bit of meat in this soup. I'm laying down, I'm giving you something that you can take with you that's going to help you when it comes to welding with a stick, when it comes to building trailers or something besides cars. When you're dealing with real metal and you need real strength, and you begin to have some problems with things cracking and different things, well, there's a method to the madness. could go in and find you some recycled metal and build this. But I'm not quite sure you're going to find anything as good as that old steel, that old grater blade, that made in the USA stuff back in the day. Today we're going to get a lot less grade, a lot less strength of steel. But coming back in here and using a little bit of the old school stuff. Might even say it gives it a little character. Alright, time to see what we got. I'll cut the sound down on this thing, so you won't have to hear all this racket. But I do want to show you what I'm doing. I took my brake and I broke that edge right there. And I have a video on the building of the brake. I broke that edge right there. I've got to make an edge for this 1970 here, and of course this is probably going to just be a practice piece here. But let's see what it'll do. Straight. See if we can get that curve we're looking for. This planishing.
Look at that, isn't that nice? Smooth, nice looking edge, inside and out. I think we just made us a planishing hammer. The edge in there would be the reverse edge, the hard thing. Sit in there like that. Trim that down. Like I say, this is a test piece, so it's a little long in the tooth, just to kind of give you a better picture of the curve. And I think we've accomplished what we set out to do. Well, that's how we do it. Let's move on. We'll be starting our new project now that we have the tools for it. God bless you. Thank you for watching.